Books are known for many things. Hopefully good things, one can assume, but regardless, when we think about books, there's a lot of ways to perceive it. We see it as a fictional story, a non-fiction piece, or a thing many self-improvement gurus use to sell their products. Either way, it's all about the presentation, and the importance of books comes in our own perspective. Case in point, my own perspective of books not only saved my life in the trajectory it was heading in, but also improved it in more ways than one. Hello, if you don't know me, my name is Arnel Arcega. I'm one of the healthiest authors and writers on this platform. As such, I educate people on how to read and write so that they can not only improve their language and literature, but become better and stronger writers in the long run. If you want personal help to write your own book, as I'll explain in this video, then check out my Instagram down the link in the description, as well as my books down there as well. For now, let's discuss the topic of books and how this whole idea of simply writing it, sometimes physically, other times typing it away, made me become the person you see now, and how satisfied I am because of it. Before I started writing books, I didn't know what I was doing. Throughout most of my youth, I had this idea of what I wanted to be, but it was never fully there, which makes sense. As kids, we are often considering ideas that will make us determine the rest of our lives. We're so naive with the rest of the world that we don't often think about it. But as we age, the more we soon realize, oh my God, what are we supposed to be doing with our lives? And I had this weird realization around the age of 12 and 13 when interacting with one of my middle school friends that it struck me in a way nothing else has before. Ever since then, I thought about how I can improve my life without the need of experiencing those childhood joys, which is a shame. I think back to that time, but it's often one that I feel many of us look back on fondly. But for me, it was confusing. I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be a director. I wanted to be so many different things that I couldn't land on one specific idea. Even by the time I got to my freshman year of high school, I was still experimenting with what I was creating, trying to be a music producer of all things. And then I came up with an idea. One day, during the winter of 2023, I started writing my first book. I've always wanted to write a book. It's one of those childhood things you want to do. You want to make music, video games, or a book. It's always one of those three. When I considered that around the age of 14, that's when I soon realized the power of books. When I crafted my first ever book, it wasn't the one you see in the top link of the description. It was a completely different idea, one revolving around a comedian that is often rejected in the world and is considered a clown. Before I came up with the current first book down in the link in the description, I had to picture what I wanted. You see, writing is one thing when you're always taught that it's this grammatic, school-centered thing. But once you break free of that expression, then soon enough, writing becomes its own medium. Like movies, like video games, writing and books is associated with that speed of knowledge. When I was younger, I was always read to from my parents, and I always wanted to be able to not only read, but write as well. I've had plenty of books behind here, all dating all the way back to 2019, 2020. And by the time 2024 rolled around, that's when I actively decided to start writing. Not only did it give me a goal, but it also gave me a mission to complete in a given amount of time. Even though I spent most of, if not the whole year, writing my first book, A Small World Smiles, it genuinely satisfied me, and I feel so much more grateful experiencing that now more than ever before. There are times in which I could time travel and fix some things in my past, but one thing will always remain, and it's that I would have never written my first book had I not gone through that childhood confusion. And when I did, it made me understand what works, what doesn't, and why the path of writing matters most. We are often consumed by social media and AI as of recording this due to how easy it is. We don't like doing the hard things. I noticed this with my generation the most, but we are lazy. We purposely ignore hard work, and that's why you hardly see anyone reading. But the other day when I was going on a walk, I saw this couple reading books in a cafe, and I was thinking to myself, that's what I want to see. It's not just about reading, but it's also about writing. Because when someone is reading a book, they're not alone. It's the author's idea present with them. Whenever I want to just tell a story, I personally pick writing, not only because it's the easiest in my opinion, without it feeling cheap, but it's also there to persuade you and inform you of different ideas without feeling draining. When you watch a movie or when you play a video game, you have this presence, this feeling of an endpoint. With books, you get that same feeling, but not too much later. However, unlike video games, you can do it anywhere and everywhere. And if you are a writer in this case, you are using that knowledge to the best of your ability because of the fact that you are visualizing your story. You're visualizing your audience, and how you want to tell that changes the way you live. We all have our own stories that are based on problems in our real life. We want to explore said problems. While I'm not able to talk about certain topics that I feel qualified in, you yourself are knowledgeable of the craft you do. Remember, even at the age of 14 when I wrote my first book, I was knowledgeable enough to write about high school and the general experience of everyday life. And that made me more and more confident to explore stronger book ideas pursuing the future. And I'm excited to reveal those future ideas as I get older. And that same case can apply to you. Whether you are in your 30s or around my age, you can be able to tell a story that not only changes the way someone reads, but also the way someone perceives things. I never thought books meant much to me. In a weird way, I just liked reading it for entertainment. But when I read Mark Zuzak's The Book Thief, that's my biggest inspiration on how to tell a story. In the case of storytelling, I personally prefer character writing over plot because of the fact that there's so much you can do with that said story. And being able to sit down with your thoughts and visualize characters you never thought were real, but they feel real anyways, is what makes beautiful stories. Some of the best art you've ever seen, some of the best selling books. No matter what you're trying to do, whether you're trying to get rich off of books or you just want to sell a book, the best thing you can do is write a good book, because that's the best option you have. So when I began this journey here of making content both in YouTube and writing, I wanted to be able to not only tell a great story, but to persuade an audience along with it. So here's my tip on how to write your own book with absolutely zero experience, of course. I've done this craft for over 2-3 years now, and being able to enjoy the full process of writing, I'm telling you, it's something that nothing will ever touch. That feeling when you finish a chapter, that feeling when you get down to write one of the most beautiful and tragic things you can, whether it's a character death, a romance, or even just a plot twist, all of that, it's a rush of emotions. The first thing I want you to consider as an author is to know your problem. As I said earlier in the video, your problem is the thing that determines how your book is going to be perceived. What type of problem do you want to address? For one, I'm not a huge fan of usually romance stuff or anything involving sexual misconduct or whatever the kind is. For me, I like telling hopeful kinds of stories, and those ones with very toxic love, that's not what I usually touch. But regardless, you can look over that and address that problem. I, for one, like using the idea of social media, how deep fried we all are and how we constantly overwhelm ourselves over and over. But respect your story, obviously. You can't revolve a story around one singular problem if you're not going to move it across a playing field. That is why I suggest tip number 2, read stuff that inspires you. To be able to be inspired off of literature is what gets you off as being an author. You can use my books down the link in the description as an example, but anything like The Book Thief, as I explained, or something like Jurassic Park can and will inspire you to be a better writer. Or hell, it gets you started writing because you know how the process works. That's what made me start writing in the first place as well. The idea of reading and being a good reader. All authors are good readers by the end of the day. And if they're willing to know how an audience works, know how they're structured, then they will be able to make a story just as good as the audience they perceive. And the third and final thing I want you to understand about writing a book is persuasion. Persuasion is huge because it's often the thing that drives why people want to read your book. You can be a social media influencer like me and explain how it is, word of mouth, or just publishing the book itself. Regardless, you have to be able to experiment with these ideas because that's what influences you the most. For example, I spent several hours staying up late writing my third novel, The Winning Complex. And in doing so, I made one of my favorite books I've ever read, even just as an audience member. Watching it all unfold, this reality TV show with all the plot twists I know was coming, but removing that perspective, it made me not only experiment better, but also enjoy the process more. It's been a month since then when I finished that book, and while I'm still planning my fourth novel, I feel the weight of my life not as influenced because of the fact I'm not writing. I'm doing other activities that are healthy, such as sleeping and exercising, but I'm not writing. And that makes me feel empty inside. As a content creator, I want to be making more and more content. Whether that is reaching more and more faces or not, that's up to you guys to decide. In the case of just creating and being a good author, I want to tell a good story for the sake of it. Why? Because it's fun. I love experimenting with my storytelling. I love telling stories because that's how we interest people. That's how we make connections. And if we build upon societal problems while still expanding on a story that genuinely interests us, that is the power of being a writer. And that's why books in of itself saved my life. The ability to pick up a pen, whether literally when I was younger, or more accurately, typing it away as I'm older, it's powerful to say the least. You may not see my progress literally, but as I've explained my journey here, you can see what it takes to be an author and how this dedication can move us into the future. Even if things such as AI take over and social media plaguing the world, I hope you can use this video to the best of your ability and continue inspiring yourself, both as a knowledgeable human, but also as a writer by the end of the day. Keep on learning and keep on experimenting everywhere you go. Check out my Instagram down the link in the description so I can personally help you with the video here. Along with that, check out my books down there as well. I am Arnel Arcega, and until next time, keep on reading, keep on writing, take care.